Dads with daughters, out of all of their boyfriends, which one did you hate the most and why? Her current, first, 1. She's 16 and in love, and I'm trying to be supportive, but this boy's a complete asshat. He frequently blows her off to play video games, is never on time when they're supposed to meet up by like hours, and just doesn't seem to appreciate her or her time. I've told her this multiple times, and have subtly suggested maybe they should take a break, but they are still together. Mofo emptied all but one ice cube out of the ice cube tray and didn't refill. End him. My dad hated my high school boyfriend because the first time they met, my boyfriend told him, unsolicited, how to make a bong out of a pomegranate juice bottle. The one that I don't know about. Not dad, but both me and my mom hate my sister's douche of a boyfriend. I practically helped raise my sister when my parents divorced when she was 3. 19-year-old. School dropout punk of an idiot kid who thinks he's going to be a big YouTube star. First off, guy was just renting a room in our place, actually renting my room, when I left for school. He starts dating my sister despite being a renter. Starts using the fact that he's dating her as leverage to not pay rent. He breaks a ton of my furniture, leaves moldy food all over my room, and even destroyed the glass stove top in the kitchen because he wanted to ground coffee beans with a rock on the glass for some reason. He also poured bleach on the carpets in my room for who knows what reason. He filled my sister's head with stories about how he's the only person in the world who actually cares about her, only knowing her for a year at that point. He also filled her head with BS stories about taking her away to far off lands and shit. As well convinced her to buy a large number of pets that she couldn't take care of for the mems. Very manipulative piece of shit. So when he decides he doesn't want to pay the rent anymore and tells my mom straight up I'm living here because of my sister not for you as an excuse not to pay rent somehow, my mom has to kick him out. So what's he do? Convinces my sister to move out with him because he's the only person who cares about her, blah blah blah. I get mad at the guy, cause of all his manipulation. And especially for destroying my bedroom and furniture. Take what's left of my furniture back. And sister straight up punches me in the face and tells me cause I'm living away for school this is no longer my home or family and my furniture, which I paid for, was no longer mine. Haven't talked to her in years. We were very close before this guy showed up. If I ever see that kid again I swear I will have to resist the urge to beat the living daylights out of him for the shit he put in her head. My father hated my first serious boyfriend, but was almost always warm and welcoming to him. I asked him recently, I'm now 45, why he didn't ban me from seeing him or stop him from staying over. His answer was that if he'd done that then I'd have run off with him and got married and it would have been a disaster. He was absolutely right and I'm so grateful he let me work out myself that I didn't want to live with a cheating speed freak. I personally never hated any of my children's interests, but I do remember having a girlfriend whose father hated me so much he thought it'd be funny to put me on a horse that wasn't tame and let me ride it. Was my first time around horses and almost ended with me being thrown. Jokes on him cause I married that girl. We get along now. He's not so bad once you get past the trying to injure me bit. I had been saving a mango 4 days waiting for that perfect ripeness. Almost ate it one evening, but decided that one more night would be perfect. The following day my daughter's asshole then boyfriend decided to eat that perfectly ripe mango before I came home from work. Never forgave him. Also he was an entitled jerk in many other ways. Not the dad, but the boyfriend here. I went to pick her up and she informed me that if he ever saw me on their property he'd put around in me. Turns out I worked for him as a taxi driver and he did not like me as an employee so. The punk line? It's been 20 years that his baby and I have been married. In high school, when I met my girlfriend's father for the first time he asked me how long my arms were. I said I don't know, maybe 32 inches. His reply was I want Amy 36 inches from you at all times. Steven. the one who became her first husband, because I knew his parents, and that spousal abuse is a learned behavior. It's funny because my 2 daughters thought they had a red on me and didn't. They thought I wanted the male college graduate from a prosperous family. I don't know how they came to that conclusion. One is gay and one has fallen for an army guy. I like both of their choices, because they work hard, respect my daughters, and will stand up to me to defend them, not viciously or anything. The boyfriend I hated was the one where my daughter was trying to please me. He was going to engineering school, prosperous family, nice car, and good grades. But he was an ass, would pressure her to do things that got her in trouble, and made her think he wanted to marry her in high school if she would wait. He was manipulative and wasn't respectful of my daughter, me, or my wife. I'm glad he moved and is out of the picture. The new guy has nothing but respect and a hard work ethic. My stepdad absolutely hated my ex-boyfriend. At the time I couldn't understand it and thought he was being judgmental. But looking back I can see why. He would always ask for lifts home if he came round, didn't wait for anyone to offer head, just straight up ask. Thought it was okay to smoke out of my window. I was trying to impress him by making out it was fine and insisting on bringing his dog over despite my stepdad being allergic. This guy really thought he could get away with manipulating and taking advantage of people because he was charming. I'm so glad my stepdad saw right through him. I'm only 24, so imagining kids is a bit of a long shot, but I'm dreading having to talk my kids through relationships. I know it's gonna go south at one point or another because I was as ignorant as a teenager could get when it came to the girls I dated. My mom would act a certain way or give me a look and be all, ugh, whatever, and keep on my wave until I realized, hey, wait a minute. I'm stupid. My best friend was a huge womanizing douchebag in his 20s. He slept around a lot. He used women. He was manipulative. Honestly, he was an asshole in general. He's really grown up a lot. Has a successful career now and settled down. He's married now and has a daughter. They're expecting another daughter. I laughed so hard when he found out he was having a girl. He was everything a father would warn their daughters about. I can't wait for this time in their life to come around, lol. Big sister here. My dad and the entire rest of the family absolutely despised my baby sister's boyfriend. He was a condescending jackass that gave her an eating disorder, among other mental health issues. One morning she walks into the living room with a black eye. Every one of us was ready to kill the bastard. Turned out she dropped her phone onto her face. But the fact that we all believed he was capable of that really shook her. I had warring feelings when they broke up. I felt bad for her because of how absolutely devastated she was, but was happier than a pig in shit that it didn't last. I also happened to get dumped the same day. So, joy. Fast forward a few months, and one of her best friends finally works up the courage to ask her out. Only took him 4 years. It's longer distance because they are in colleges in different states. But she saw the immediate difference when the first weekend he drove out to her dorm because he wanted to see her. Flash forward 5 years to today. They are getting married in a few months and has already part of the family. Not the dad, but the youngest daughter. I remember one for each of us, and our dad told us why my sister. She was in high school when she started dating a guy who thought, because he had a car, he was really slick. So when he would pick up my sister for a date or something, he would park outside her house and honk the horn to summon her. He did this twice with my dad hearing it. So dad told my sister to wait inside and walked out to the kid asking what he was delivering, because he sure as hell wasn't picking anything up here. My dad's a tall and wide guy, I think has just shy of 63. So he scared the guy a fair bit. A few weeks later my sister dumped him cause he asked her to hold some suspicious something in a bag, and my dad told the guy that he'd better never seen him lurking around my sister again, unless he wanted to find out what an ex-dentist could do. Me, I had a friend who, because a boyfriend during my freshman year, he was a nice guy, but what I wasn't aware of was he was super religious and pretty much wanted the were high school sweethearts. Engaged for a few months and then married with kids lifestyle. He pretty much wanted me to just make babies and be a stay-at-home mom. His mistake was during a family dinner he was invited to. He mistook my mom being unemployed at the time for being a stay-at-home mom and thought my dad shared the same ideals. So like an idiot he starts talking about how my dad needs to remind me and my sister what our duties in life are. I was confused. My sister was confused. And my mom had the most "what is he talking about" face, while my dad just goes silent. My then quickly turning ex decided to add that they need to serve their husbands and not challenge them. What followed was my mom taking his plate away and my dad getting up and leading the kid by the neck out to the hallway to get dressed and out the door. Dad told him that he was no longer welcomed here again and shut the door. He then returned to the table and asked me, "I hope you're not upset by this, but I'd rather you date someone else." I told him not to worry because he had just become an ex. Edit. I wasn't aware that some of my expressions are a little dated. When he say my dad grabbed my ex by the neck, I don't mean he grabbed him literally by the neck in a chick hold. I meant he pretty much frog marched him to the front door to put on his shoes and jacket. My dad is mostly bark rather than bit. Also, I understand that what he did to my sister's ex can be considered illegal, but keep in mind that ex was trying to get her to hold drugs for him. Also, he isn't against stay-at-home mothers. My mom was one when I was little, but it was by choice and not before he declared it to be so. My dad has always had a strong opinion on equality, so he gets made when he runs into sexist people, and it goes both ways. Has gotten mad at women too. I'll say that boys can't cry because of some stupid nonsense or what have you. I still hate that guy that mentally abused her. The guy that didn't want her to show her tattoo, small one that says survivor on her lower arm because it did not fit in the class he wanted to be in. The guy that didn't want her to cosplay because it was either too childish or soft porn. The guy that didn't want her gothic clothing because it wasn't fitting to his circles. The guy that did not want her to see her best friends and did not want her to come along to the parties of his friends. The guy that always compared her to his female friends. The guy that gave her psychological problems that caused her to have problems studying, which caused her dropping out of university. Yeah, I still hate that guy. Luckily, with all the support from us, her current boyfriend and a very good psychiatrist, she is overcoming her anxieties and insecurities. Last month she graduated as a certified nurse working with elderly people with Alzheimer's. I'm so freaking proud of her. Greg. Hated Greg. Well, whoever this Greg is, I hate him to death. Greg. My middle kid's boyfriend. I hate him with a passion. She's made so many bad choices while with him. I know her choices, I should blame her, and I do. And he encourages them. They abuse drugs together, etc. It's a mess. And has just a jerk tried to pick up on my youngest while she was a minor. I know her problems won't go away even if he was gone. But good lord, do I just want him to go away. Edit him slow and didn't see the dad tag lol. My husband feels the same though. My dad absolutely hated the one that traumatized me, so I guess that's no surprise. My abusive ex was the worst piece of shit and wasn't only shitty to me, but my family too. Especially to my dad. Then again, this ducker was probably a psychopath. He was discharged from army boot camp for homicidal urges. The one who broke her heart. He's the only one I even dislike. Not me, but my Sil's last boyfriend. He was a total bag. Made inappropriate jokes about their sex life in front of the family. Was always talking shit about others behind their back and literally just smoked and played video games all day and relied on her to pay rent, food, etc. He did carry me to some Warzone victories though, so there was at least one positive out of the relationship. Our daughter's first boyfriend was a confused young man. Nice enough guy, but later events somewhat explained his behavior. On a Friday night, if they had a date, she would be excited all week, rush home to get ready, and then from 30 minutes before the time he said he would pick her up, she'd sit on the couch and look out the window in anticipation. He worked at a mall kiosk and had a shitty car, but he was good looking, popular, and he was her world. But For every date he would call her, often just 5 minutes before the pickup time, and say he was going to be an hour late because of work. Then he would do it again an hour later, and then again. Our kid was trying to be understanding and not get mad, but you could just see the disappointment wash over her each time, and her enthusiasm deflate out of her. The last part of the dick move was to call her one last time and say he couldn't make it at all, and then show up 5 minutes later to a hero's welcome. Our daughter would be so overjoyed at seeing him, albeit often 4 hours late, that she would just forgive him. I thought it was a dick move and was emotional manipulation, and I called him out on one day, but he played dumb. The relationship ran its course in a few weeks, as young love does, and we didn't see him again. We did hear through the grapevine that after the relationship with our daughter ended, he changed teams. That was actually his challenge all along. He didn't want to spend time with our daughter because he didn't like girls, but he was trying to fulfill society's expectations. Well, for me, it is pretty simple. I want her to make good decisions, and that means choosing someone who also makes good decisions. The only people I have ever had a problem with are those that don't make good decisions about their lives. IMHO, teaching your kids to love intentionally is the best life skill you can give them. So this is the exact opposite of the question. But I once had a boyfriend whose father I did not like. The first time I met his dad, he asked me if I was a stripper because he said I have a strip, and a meho asks their son's GF if she's a stripper the first time they meet. Middle Eastern dads have entered the chat. My dad and stepdad both hated my ex, and honestly so did every single person in my life. But the worst thing he said to my stepdad happened after I picked him up from downtown after a night of drinking. I brought him back to my house, and we were in the living room with my mom and stepdad. I don't remember what happened in between this, but he told my stepdad how he was going to duck me. For any guys reading this, if you are unsure if you're treating your girl right, ask yourself, would I like my daughter treated like the way I treat my girl? If the answer is no, then change now. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.